Round 5, Season 9 of Tier 6 ALR Sprint Racing. I'm just checking that we are in fact live. There we go. That's not coming up there yet. If I just go on to YouTube and from my own account and have a look this way. Yeah, there we go. We are live. Okay, I'll just copy a link and post it into the Tier 6 chat, and then we shall get underway. Ah, there we go. Stream link is there. There we go. I'll pop it into Tier 6, and let's get this underway. Perfect. Okay, so let us have a look. There we go. So, sorry, starting. Okay, so we've only got 7 for the race. Starting at the back of the field, we have Esty in the Audi, and in the standings, he is currently in. Where is he? There you go. He's in 6th. Okay, so it's not too bad from here. Moose King in 6th, and not great for him as he's 2nd in the championship currently. Someone missing. I guess there must have been something go wrong in the lobby. But so up into 5th, then we have Stuart, who's currently 5th in the standings. So that's you know, nice bit of consistency from him. Fracas in 4th on the grid. Cunning Fern, who's also 3rd in the championship, starting 3rd. Stebber starting 2nd. He's way down in 9th in the championship, so he'll be hoping for some good solid points. I mean, every driver here is going to get some good points in this round, because they have only 7 drivers, so there'll be some good points up on offer. And finally, Gin Tony, our championship leader by quite a margin, starting at the front. I don't know what's happened to Vidvir recently, but he was Gin's only real rival at the start of the season anyway. Let's see if anyone can bring something back. There we go. So we've got 5 red lights on. Let's see who gets the best getaway. There we go, 5 red lights on, and they're out. Gin Tony gets a good start. Stebber struggling, the McLaren behind him pulling away nicely. Cunning Fern up into P2 very easily. We've got a BMW 1-2 as the Porsche Stebber and the McLaren just behind him go side by side. Cunning Fern goes deep into the corner and then ghosts out, so I thought there was going to be a bit of contact there, but he does ghost. Gin Tony retakes the lead. Stebber managing to hold on to 3rd from Fracas in the McLaren, as Cunning Fern now comes back at his teammate, going through the long right-hander there as they go into the 2nd chicane and into sector 2. Cunning Fern not quite close enough. Stebber getting it all wrong. Stebber getting it all wrong there. Let's go and have a look, see what he did. Yeah, I think he's probably just touched the grass, to be honest. There we go, so they're coming towards, okay, yeah, he's just panicked a little bit because there was a bit of movement in front of him. He's got it all wrong, and let's hope he doesn't get a penalty for that. He does hold on to 4th for the time being, as long as he doesn't get a penalty. Obviously, Cunning Fern didn't get the move done on Gin just then. Cunning Fern in 2nd. Fracas getting onto the AstroTurf there. You don't really want to be doing that, because it does unsettle the car quite a lot. Fracas in 3rd still. Stebber in 4th. Didn't get a penalty and has now got the toe on Fracas. That's the one thing about Monza. Toe is very important. Fracas does move defensively. Stebber gives him a little kiss, but he doesn't follow through though. Didn't finish his dinner, so Fracas remains on the circuit. Stebber in 4th, Quite a bit of a gap back to Stewart in 5th, with Moose King quite close behind him, and SD quite close behind him. So it is very tight for 5th, and this lead group sort of one by one at the moment. Oh, Cunningfern has got ahead of Gin, so let's have a look. There we go, nicely done in the toe. Cunningfern gets the lead, and it's done way before the braking zone. I wonder if there might be some teammate working together going on. Maybe they're just giving each other the toe, taking it in turns to lead, possibly. Stebber going a little bit wide, but it doesn't allow Stewart to close in. What it has allowed though is Fractus to get just a significant enough gap that he's not under too much pressure, as coming third, still in the lead. Jim Tony not close enough at all really to even think about making a move. As we look further behind us, yeah, Stebber very close behind Fractus. Stebber obviously starting P2, does have a bit of pace. Fractus going onto the grass, which allows Stebber to close right up to him, gets himself just underneath as they go through the long right-hander into the second chicane. Then they go side by side together. Who's going to be ballsiest on brakes? It is Fractus. He remains, holds onto the position. Stebber trying to get an undercut, but he can't really do that through that chicane. So Fractus does hold on to third for the time being, but he is under a lot of pressure from Stebber here. The Finnish driver isn't under any pressure from behind as yet. Stewart, SD, Moose King, they're all quite close together. Stebber getting a little bit wrong through the leg mode, but he is still on the back of Fractus. He's going to get a nice toe down here. He might be just a little bit too far back to make a move done, get a move done, unless he's really ballsy. Yeah, he thinks better of it. Decides that actually the best plan of action is to just sit and wait behind Fractus, which is what he's doing. Wait for Fractus to make a mistake perhaps. Although it was Stebber who, through the Ascari, made the mistake. Looking further up, wow, Cunningfern is making a mockery of his teammate who's leading the championship at the moment. He's pulling out a fantastic margin over Gintoni. Obviously, you know, it is only a 15-minute race, but there you go, 49.8, a very respectable time. Gin in the 51s. I wonder if he made a mistake or two that lap. As further back behind us, we now have Stebber going for the inside. The Porsche's pretty good on the brakes as they come down into turn 1, the first chicane. Fractus sort of lets him take the place. I don't know what the McLaren's like on the brakes, to be fair. Maybe it's just not quite got the performance that the Porsche does. But Stebber gets the place very nicely indeed, getting, you know, almost a textbook move. Get the toe up the straight, pull to the inside, be later on the brakes. Easily done, very nicely controlled. Fractus not being able to get into the toe of Stebber. Obviously Stebber getting the better exit off the corner. Both of them go a little bit wide through the second chicane into the second sector as they go towards the Lesmos. Yeah, still nice gap. But maybe Stebber will be thinking about if he can attack Gintoni in the early part of this race, or perhaps Gintoni's got a bit too much pace because he is slowly closing in on Cunning just a little bit, not massive, but yeah, very nicely closing up to him through the Sky chicane. Jim goes nicely using the curb there, not getting unsettled by the cocktail sausages, as I call them. Not quite full sausage curbs, but they are, you know, they are a chunk in the ground you don't want to hit. Yeah, there we go. So this top 4 has fragmented slightly. So if we have a look further back, so ST has got past Moose King, but it is very close at the back here. Moose King very close to the back of SD, who is going to benefit up the straight with the 2 Audis in front of him. There we go. Moose King not quite getting the pull off the parabolica that he'd have wanted. SD tucking into the slipstream of Stewart. He won't be close enough to make a move unless he's got balls of steel. But there we go. So through to the first corner we go. Clipping the curb very nicely. There we go. Textbook done. Perhaps a little bit late on the power as Stewart pulls the gap out slightly. Moose King still in 7th. which you know, you say, okay, it is last, but there's some fantastic points on offer for 7th. What is it? 15 for the win, 12, 10, 8, 6, 5, 4. So yeah, good points on offer for wherever you finish in this race. There we go. So SD making a slight mistake into the chicane, which has allowed Moose King to close right up to the back of him. Stewart has got a bit of breathing room now from his teammate behind him. Fracas in 4th, sort of on his Billy No mates, really. As we look further up the field, Stebber not closing up to Jin, but the person who is closing up is Jin to his teammate. So it was a 50.2 for Cunning last lap and a 49.7. So he's closed up half a second last lap. I wonder if he's also closed up this lap. It doesn't look as though he has. This top 3, you know, they've each got comfortable gaps in front of them. You know, if I'm Cunning, I'm not that worried about Jin at the time being. And if I'm Jin, I'm not that worried about Stebber at the moment. And well, Stebber can get as many penalties as he likes. His Fracas is quite the way back from him. Possibly making a mistake this lap, obviously, you know, being a second behind his fastest lap. He must have got something wrong at some point. But Stebber into the first corner, clips the curb very nicely, getting a little bit on the sausage, more on the sausage than he wanted to in the second part, and that has put him into the gravel, and he's gone, he's, you know, massively closed the, opened up the gap to himself and Jib. As I was just saying, you know, he's not, Fracas isn't close enough behind him to be worried. Stebber though did put in the fast lap of 49.0 last lap, Jin on a 49.3 and Cunning on a 49.8. So, you know, Jin was half a second closer. He's pulled in a gap of, he's pulled in 2 seconds, well sorry, 1 second over the last 2 laps, which is the sort of the consistent pace that you need if you are going to close the gap that that Cunning managed to pull on him. Stebber, you know, obviously making that mistake, has opened that gap up and won't be able to, we'll have to put in some fantastic times to be able to close it. As we go through, looking further back, Stewart, what has Stewart done? He was in 5th place, but obviously he's got a bit of a balls up somewhere and has dropped himself down to 7th place. Moose King in 6th with, you know, obviously he's not under any pressure from Stewart, but he's not putting his teammate under much pressure. Oh, no, not his teammate, sorry. He's not putting SD under much pressure either. Fracas in 4th, again, not under any pressure, really. Stebber in 3rd. He has managed to close that gap. You know, we saw him touch the gravel into Sector 1. But still, to do a 49.5, which shows that he has got some pace, which is the exact same time Jin did, actually. So, you know, Stebber managed to allow Jin to open that gap, and Stebber closed it, slammed it shut. Cunning on a 49.4, so he is now aware of Jin closing the gap down to him. So we're nearly 2/3 of the way through this race. Okay, 36.0, very good time through the first sector for Jin. And Stebber getting a 2-second penalty. Oh, that's going to be heartbreaking because he's driving fantastically. He's making a few mistakes though, which is what's really stunting his ability to perform. But Cunning is doing a fantastic job out front. Getting onto the Astro there is not ideal, but it's not. When you have got a sizable margin to Jin, I think Jin's made a mistake as well somewhere. Let's go back. No, maybe Cunning's just been a bit faster. But yeah, but Stebber will be kicking himself for that because you know, he's trying to close that gap, and you know, obviously, as all the players know, when you get a 2-second penalty, but it's braking in a straight line, it's not like you just lose 2 seconds. You actually lose probably double what the penalty is. So, you know, what's about a second and a half gap to Jin is going to turn into a 5.5, and he goes into the gravel again, making another sloppy error. So all he's got to hope now is that Fracas doesn't manage to close that gap up. I doubt he will, because Fracas is all over the shop as well. Yeah, no, the gap is too big back to Fracas to really affect Stebber. But Stebber does, you know, he's got the fastest lap, he does have the pace to be challenging Jin and Cunning. Jin, yeah, he must have made a mistake, because a 50.2 is uncharacteristically slow for him, whereas Cunning goes fastest on a 49.0. So that 1 second that Jin had worked consistently hard for to pull into Cunning, he's just opened back up with a silly mistake. And what Cunning's doing very well is just being consistent. You know, he's got the fastest lap now, but he's not pushing too hard. He knows that he doesn't have to push too hard. You know, 36.3 through the first sector is all right. It's a good time. It's not fantastic. You know, if you're getting into the 36.0s or 35.9, 35.8 through the first sector, that is where you get the fastest laps from. But 36.3 is just enough to maintain the lead, especially when your competition in Jin, who must have made another mistake. What's he done? Or maybe he hasn't made a mistake. But, you know, Cunning is doing a far superior job to his teammate Gintoni as we come through the Lesmos. Nice car control, again stepping onto the Astro a little tiny bit, but it's not affecting him massively at all. Stebber with another penalty, and this time Fracas is a bit closer. That's not a 3-second gap back to Fracas, I don't think. Obviously it's hard to tell what the gap is, but Stebber is at this point going to be quite worried about what this means to Fracas and if he's going to be in any trouble at all. And he must have made a mistake as well. 1.7 down at the sector 2 split, so he's pushing too hard is what's happening, and he's paying for it in penalties. But it's right on board with Fracas as Stebber takes his penalties, closing up. He's going to get the move done. Fracas is going to take 3rd position off of Stebber. But looking at the lap times, Fracas hasn't got the pace to be challenging Stebber, but Stebber's the one making mistakes. Fracas is using all the track limits. Stebber's closed right back up to the McLaren and has managed to pull alongside him. Stebber side by side at the time being. McLaren just slightly faster in a straight line, and without the toe, he's not doing it. But is he going to do the same move that he did a few laps earlier? Nicely late on the brakes. Fracas leaves him plenty of room, tries to get the cut back, and Fracas does knock him into the gravel a little bit. Let's go back and have a look at that. I don't think it was intentional, obviously. Fracas has just gone to try and get the cut back. So Stebber's going to go deep on the brakes. Fracas is going to go quite shallow and try to get the undercut, but yeah, he has just knocked Stebber into the gravel, and Stebber's not going to thank him for it, as SD also goes through. SD putting some pressure now down on Fracas into the second chicane, not close enough to challenge with a big lock-up, sending him off the circuit. So that is going to allow Stebber to come back through potentially, although Stebber gets it all out of shape on the throttle. So no, SD remains in 4th, but Stebber, if you look at the lap times, 51.2 from SD and a 49.0 from Stebber. So Stebber will be closing up to SD at a rate of knots and should be able to get past. But if he carries on making the silly mistakes that he is making, then perhaps not. Also, actually, this could be the final lap for them. 25 seconds to go on the 16, yeah. Oh, sorry, no, 35 seconds. Yeah, no, they should be alright to make it round 4, lap 9. Fracas has managed to pull a slight gap, as Stebber making another mistake, and that allows the gap to SD to open up, and he loses a place to Mooski. Why is he in 3rd? Because they're just given up. Or has he got a problem with his sim? No? Okay. I think he's just given up. Yep. Okay. Right. That was Moose King in 5th. Right. SD. Fracas, Jin. Cunning Farm. I haven't really paid much attention to him, but he's been doing a very, very good job. As we said, you know, he's just doing enough to keep Jin at bay. And if we look at Jin's times are better. You know, he's 49.4 last lap compared to a 50.7. But Jin's also got those 52.2s in there, which are not going to help him. So Cunning being far more consistent. Also, actually, just looking, Stebber in 7th to Stewart in 6th. So I don't know what he was doing, but not very intelligent things. Yeah. So Cunning in the lead, doing a fantastic, consistent job. Just, you know, managing the gap behind him, because he doesn't need to push. If you look at him now, he's not setting the world alight through the chicane. He's balancing the throttle, but he's being consistent. He's using the track limit. He's not doing anything silly, apart from now. He's decided he can weave down the straight, which I wouldn't do if I was him. But, you know, each to their own. Coming to the braking, on the brakes nicely. Get the car slowed down, accelerate in 3rd gear. He doesn't need to be in 2nd gear to get the maximum acceleration, because you could end up spinning your tyres and spinning. And so yeah, he's done a fantastic job as he weaves to the line to take the win. Jin Tony comes across in 2nd. Excellent round for the BMWs. Fracas under a lot of pressure from SD. He's going to get a cut back through the Parabolica. Gets the move done. We're going to have to go back and watch it again. Sorry, right, so SD in 3rd, side by side. Fracas go very deep. Wow, so he's gone late on the brakes, and that's allowed SD to get the undercut on him, put out of the Parabolica. Fracas will tuck into the slipstream, but there's not enough space between here and the start finish as SD comes home to take 3rd place. An excellent recovery for SD, who was a lot further back in qualifying. But, you know, very consistent drive from SD, and that allowed him to take the 3rd place. So, to round up, we had the 2 BMWs, Cunning in 1st, Jin 2nd, SD in the Audi in 3rd. Then we had, then we had Fracas, Moose King in 6th, or in 5th? Sorry, Moose King in 6th. And Stewart, then Stebber. Perfect. Okay, and now we go on to the feature race. If we there we go, it's in my collection. That's the sprint, and here we have the feature. Perfect. Lovely stuff. There we go. So whilst we load, obviously, so for the feature we're going to have a reverse grid. So I mean, perhaps that's what Stebber was going for. Perhaps at the end he decided, actually, you know, I'm not doing great, so I'm gonna get good points if I come last. I might as well come last and then set myself up for a fantastic feature race. So we'll have a look at what strategy everyone's on, because the weird thing about Monza is that obviously the medium tyre lasts longer than the soft tyre. However, you can make the soft tyre last longer, or you can go longer on the soft tyre, because this circuit isn't very abrasive because of all the straight lines. However, again, another interesting part about Monza is how much of a difference the fuel makes, because you are going flat out for so long. So there we go. So we've got Sid back in. He must have had a problem with his connection, but so he's going to start on the medium tyre, with Cunning also on the medium for Jin, SD on the medium, soft for Fracas in 4th place, Moose King also on the soft, Stewart electing the medium, and Stebber going for the soft tyre. So I think Stebber here will be trying to get a fantastic start, pull away from those behind him and create a gap. The difficulty he's going to have is remaining consistent. But let's see how this pans out. So obviously we've got a rolling start as we come up towards the line. And lights out and away we go. So yeah, Scuba letting everyone through. Why has he done that? They just want to start at the back. Don't understand what's happened there. Anyway, okay, right, so let's go back because I got distracted by what Stebber was doing. Okay, so Stuart in the lead, Moose King just behind. Moose King trying to get something done around the outside, not enough space. SD getting himself through past Fracas as Gintoni also wrestles to get past, but I think he must have just got onto the gravel a little bit. Cunning sitting behind him with Saeed in 7th, and Stebber after his, I don't understand what happened, but I must be missing something. He's now going to, there we go, no, he's not going to challenge Saeed. Saeed is going to go up the inside of our race 1 winner as, what has Moose King done? Right, so into the chicane we go, clips the inside curb. Oh, it wasn't Moose King then. Who was it? There we go, okay. So, it was Fracas. What has Fracas done? Okay, so, yeah, as we go, ride on board. Coming up to the chicane, sitting in 4th, not under any pressure from behind, not really close enough to put any pressure on in front, gets on the brakes. Okay, he's going to turn in, clip the curb and just lights the rears up. There we go, I thought that's what would have happened, but into reverse he goes, carries on his race. Stebber now is going to try and pull alongside the race 1 winner and gets through up the inside, so kind of not really having the race start that he would have wanted to have. Anyway, so he's in 5th behind Gintoni with Stebber, and Cunning's going to come straight back at him. Is he going to be able to do anything? Is he going to be able to get close enough under the brakes? He is on the outside, which is not optimal, but hope maybe he's going to force Stebber to brake late and try and get the run down the back straight as we go through the Ascari chicane off the corner. He's not quite close enough. No, he's going to tuck into the slipstream though. Perhaps he'll be able to get a move done at the front though. So we've got Moose King pulling alongside Stuart. Moose King going a lot deeper on the brakes, and to be fair, coming off the corner a lot faster as well. So he's obviously got a handle on the circuit, but he has got a half-second penalty. He's going to want to try and pull a gap on Stuart on his soft tyres, but he'll need to get over a second to hold on to the lead for Le Temps being. Right, SD in 3rd, Gintoni up to 4th. Now, not sure what he's doing under the braking though. Should go through. SD is going to come off a little bit wider, so that's going to allow Jin to close right up to the back of him. He's going to pull out to the outside. He's going to lure SD to defend the outside, then tuck back to the inside. SD covers that as well. Don't know if that counts as a double move or not, but SD's going to take the middle of the circuit. Jin's going to look to the inside as SD moves back to the outside. SD going, being brave on the brakes. I don't know if Jin pulled out of that move because it looked like he had grip to spare. As Stebber now all over the back of Jin, giving him a couple of lovely kisses up the bum, but not enough to destabilise Jin, so it's obviously not bad. But then Jin makes a mistake and goes off onto the gravel, and that is going to drop him way down into 7th as Fracas is coming around the Lesmos now. So not the start that Jin wanted. Stebber recovering to 4th after his dropping to the back at the start. Stebber coming through the Ascari chicane, and he'll be watching on in front of him and noticing the two Audi are quite close together. Stuart getting a penalty as well. He must have made a mistake at the Ascari, otherwise he would have just served it. But yeah, Stebber's going to be looking on at these Audis in front of him, noticing that they're quite close, hoping that they're going to battle as well, and hoping that he can get a nice tow up this main straight as we go onto lap 3. And Muskin's already, no, sorry, onto lap 2, I should say. Stead with the fastest lap of 51.0. Obviously coming through traffic makes it hard. Cunnington in 5th place, not under any pressure behind him. Moose King not really pulling out the gap on the soft tyres that I'd expect he would. It's about maybe 2-second gap, maybe 1.5 seconds, not sure. But I mean, I guess we do have to give him a bit of time to open up the throttle a little bit better as we come onto the brakes into the chicane. We go, clipping the first curb, coming through the second. There we go, the traction control helping to keep him stable. Stebber all over the back of these Audis now as he gives Esti a little kiss. He's obviously coming into these Lesmos a little bit faster than the people around him. He is on soft tyres, looking if he can get a move done there. He can't, and he's going to accelerate off the corner, getting into the toe of Esti. And I wonder if he'll try again into Ascari. It'd be a ballsy place if he does, but he's closing up. He pulls out, gets on the brakes at the same time as Esti. It's not quite possible at the time being. So he's going to go through the Ascari quite close behind Esti. Stewart's obviously going to serve his penalty, so they'll both get that place back. And I wonder if Cunning will be able to take a place off Stewart as well. Okay, so we've got Stebber in the toe behind Esti as we come down towards the Parabolica, who looks to get the move done. Not enough, not close enough, but Esti does leave the door wide open, and Stebber manages to sneak through the gap as Muskin crosses the line to go to lap 3, actual lap 3, but only 51.0 for Moose King on the soft tyres, whereas Stebber, who had a little bit of traffic that lap with a 51.2. These boys are going to want to speed up just a little bit as Esti tried to come back at Stebber, but Stebber doing a much better job on the brakes than Esti. But all of this fighting has allowed Cunning to close up the gap. Obviously as well, you know, if Cunning and Stebber are in the same race, then Stebber's going to want to get a move on because he's on the soft tyres and Cunning is on the mediums. You're going to need to pull quite a bit of a gap, because what you don't want is to be attacked by someone on soft tyres when you're on the mediums in the later stages of the race. That is where things can become problematic, as Cunning is closing up to the back of Esti. If we look behind us, Cunning just travelling through with a bit more speed. He's doing a slightly better job than Esti on the medium tyre for the time being. Esti getting a little bit uncomfortable on the curb there. Cunning tucking into his slipstream, but it is too far back to really be thinking about it. Stebber is closing up to the back of Moose King. What's the split? There we go, 12.9 as we go through the after 2 sectors, after the Ascari, touching onto the Astro there, which isn't great for lap time, and Stebber won't be best pleased with himself for making that mistake. But he's still closing up to Moose King, still closing up. These Porsches are leading the way for the time being. Cunning still in 4th, all over the back of Esti now. He's going to get the slipstream up the main straight, so hopefully this should be quite an easy job to do. Esti in the middle of the circuit, not committing either side yet. Cunning just gives him a little kiss, bump drafting him up the main straight. Esti's going to pull to the inside, Cunning's going to go to the outside on the brakes. Who dares wins? Cunning is later, gives plenty of room, and Esti takes 4th place as Cunning goes through to take 3rd. There we go, further back, Zahid's still in 5th. Jin closing up the gap very, very well. 49.7 is his best lap, but he was 2 seconds slower than that last lap. But as I was saying earlier about Stebber closing up on Moose King, as Moose King just makes a mistake. What's Moose King? Is he just gone too deep onto the brakes? Stebber under the pressure of Stebber. Yeah, that's very late. 100-meter board is quite late for the Porsche, and he just goes off, allowing Stebber to come through after Stebber set the fastest lap of the race of a 49.2, which is an excellent time to be doing this early on in the race. Taking the lead off of his Porsche teammate. also on the soft tyres. So these soft tyres are going to want to try and pull away, but Cunning on the medium is quite close. He's not allowing the soft tyres on the Porsches to get away from him. 50.6 last lap, very consistent actually. 50.6 the last 2 laps. So you know, consistency does win races, and Cunning must be looking to go for a double SD in 4th place as Jin comes steaming past Sahid onto the brakes into the parabolica. Nicely done, nice and close to the apex. Hopefully Jin can sort of match the consistency of his teammate and perhaps pull in the gap. That was a 50.5 for him. So a very decent time on the medium tyre, which is obviously a bit slower than the soft. Cunning on a 50.4 that last lap. And what's quite strange about Monza as well, because it is so straight line dependent, you can keep doing fast times, because although your tyres are wearing and wearing and wearing, what is happening is your car's getting lighter and lighter and lighter, and by getting lighter and lighter and lighter, you are going faster in a straight line. So although, you know, as the tyres wear, you may be going slower through the corners, as your fuel tank wears, you're going faster down the straight, and that's what's really important at Monza, more so than most circuits, to be fair, as Cunning closing right up to the back of Moose King. Stebbit is managing to pull a very nice gap for the time being as he goes down towards the Sky chicane. Moose King followed by Cunning. Cunning is quite close at the moment. He will be looking to get a move done in a lap or two as Moose King goes very wide, gets quite uncomfortable. Cunning also going onto the AstroTurf, but not having the moment that Moose King did, as Cunning pulls up to the back of him, gives him a little bump draft actually, so obviously maybe perhaps wants to tow up the main straight as well, as Moose King goes a little bit deep. I don't think that will be as a result of Cunning's contact. Cunning is now going to pull alongside, there we go, and he's going to try and get up the inside into the first corner. 50.9 that lap for Cunning, as you know, he's not quite close enough to pull alongside. Will he be ballsier on the brakes than the Porsche? Let's find out. Yes, he is, but then pulls out of it actually. Oh no, Moose King just let off the brake pedal and went very deep, basically essentially giving Cunning the place. But so Cunning making, you know, Cunning's very measured actually into the first chicane, you know, so he knows where his braking point is, just after the 150 board. Moose King thinks he knows his braking point, brakes, realises that Cunning's got the better of him, comes off the brake, and that allows Cunning to go through as he goes deep. So you know, very measured from Cunning, and this is definitely how you win a race. Jin also 49.7 last lap as he closes up to the back of SD. He's really left Sahid in the dust a little bit, and you know, Fracas having some more problems elsewhere on the lap. But you know, so Jin's past SD now. Has SD made a mistake, or is Jin just magic? There he goes, coming up to the chicane here. Here we come, onto the brakes, SD goes, locking up again, SD locking those brakes, and that just allows us to, Jin to fly through. So yeah, if we look at Jin's times, he is very fast on this medium. You've got to remember, it's the medium tyre. Yes, Stebber's fastest lap is half a second up, but the medium tyre, you know, is about a second, maybe even more, a lap faster than the medium. The soft is faster than the medium. I think that's what I said. I'm not sure. Okay, in front of us. Oh, we've got Moose King coming back at Cunning. I guess Cunning must have made a mistake as Moose King goes a little bit deep on the brakes into Ascari. but managed to come off the corner very, very nicely. Lands himself a half-second penalty though, and that is not going to be something he smiles about as Cunning comes down the back straight. This time he is going to go for the move into the parabolic as he goes onto the brakes. Muskin goes a lot deeper again, but goes a bit too deep again. And Cunning manages to get underneath him as we go down the main straight into the first chicane. That does mean that Muskin's going to tuck in, get the slipstream from Cunning. Is Muskin going to come back at him? We know Muskin is brave on the brakes, perhaps too brave, as he pulls alongside, onto the brakes they go. Muskin, very brave on the brakes, this time does get it stopped. Don't know why he ghosted there though. Pulling alongside though, as he does go a little bit too deep. If he hadn't have ghosted, that would have been the position hold for Muskin. I don't know why that did happen. Muskin's going to tuck into the slipstream now. Is he going to look for a move? No, not yet. He's not going to make a nasty lunge as they go through the second chicane. Cunning did abuse the track limits though. He could have done it very nicely. He has done it very nicely. Yeah, he's used the track limits to their full extent and done a great job of it on the medium tyre. Steber with 2-second penalty up in front. These are not the lap times he's going to want to be doing in his soft tyre stint. You've got to remember this is his soft tyre stint, and this isn't going to be making him smile at the moment. He's not going to be happy with this, especially as Cunning behind him is on the medium tyre, and you know, okay, so Cunning's not going to get past when Steber serves his penalty. Oh, he might do actually, bloody hell. He is. Cunning's going to be able to get past Steber after he served his penalty. Wow. So all of that work that Steber's done on his soft tyre sort of gone, and as well, Jim Tony has brought himself into the mix with, you know, fair play to Jim because his lap times have been phenomenal. This is, there you go, 49.5 this lap. So he's brought himself back into the mix after the early mistake that he made. Steber's going to look for a move, not quite close enough though. He gives him a little bit of a nudge, but nothing too major. No one's going askew. Steber is going to try and come back at Cunning, but you know, Cunning is on the medium tyre. This is Cunning's slow stint, if you will, and Jin isn't too far behind as well. Moose King also on the soft tyre, so Moose King on his soft stint, on his fast stint, Jin on his slow stint. And oh, what's happening here? Right, okay, so we've got Steber up behind Cunning. Cunning sort of covering the inside, but making sure that he's not helping Steber to turn on the outside. Cunning all the way to the outside. Steber is going to take a stab at it. He's going to go very deep on the brakes, leaving just enough room for Cunning, but I don't think Cunning's left enough room on the outside there for him. I don't think Cunning's left enough room for Steber, so you know, he's left enough room on the inside there, but on coming off the corner, that gap has definitely closed for Steber, which has allowed the two BMWs to take the lead as Steber drops down to 5th place. ST coming back through, also on the mediums as well. Again, so ST on his slow stint, Steber on his fast stint, ST in front, Moose King up behind both the BMWs on his soft tyres. But so it's lap 9 now, so we may see some people starting to pit on either tyre, to be fair. You know, from sort of lap, so it's a 22 lap race, and from sort of lap 9 to lap 13, I think we'll see this is where all the pit stops come, as Cunning is pulling away, or not really pulling away, but it has got a sizable gap to Jin at the moment. Let's see what their lap times are comparatively. As Cunning comes up towards the start-finish line, so at the 51.1 for that lap, and 51.4 for Jin. So the gap not really changing, but it was quite a chaotic lap for, I mean, actually all drivers involved, to be fair. Nicely coming through the first chicane here. Moose King just holding on to the cars behind. Stebber is now back ahead of SD into 4th place. So, you know, that's some good. He is trying to salvage as much of this race as he can. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen in the steward's office about that coming together with Cunning. It definitely, I don't think it was Stebber's fault really. It could be a racing incident, or it could be a penalty for Cunning. As we go through, let's go 2, go onto this shaded straight down towards Ascari. Jin is looking a little bit closer this lap, obviously not close enough to make a move, but these two teammates do look like they've got this race in the bag, sort of, and so we'll see how it pans out towards the end of the race. Looking back behind us, okay. Yeah, Jin's very much looking like he's closing up on Cunning as we go into the Parabolica. So we'll have a look at what lap times they're doing at the moment. Come up towards the straight. Cunning, there we go. So Cunning's going to pit now on the mediums, get this used rubber. Jin's also going to follow him in. Cunning has used a little bit more fuel as Moose King takes the lead off the pair of them now. These are going to be really important laps for Stebber and for Moose King to try and grab something back from the BMWs. Let's see who comes out where, because the gap was quite close, so if one's going to put more fuel in than the other, are they just going to brim it? Oh, yeah, Jin's just brimming it, and Cunning's also brimming it. Cunning comes out. Wow, that is close though. That tiny 3% difference on the fuel when they came into the pits. That's all. 3% difference, but that has made the world of difference for Jin, who came out the pits right up the chuff, if you will, of Cunning in front of him. So this is important. Then we'll see what happens to Moose King. What's Moose King done there? I think this could be in the bag for the BMWs. He's just clipped the AstroTurf, made a mess of it, and Stebber's managed to come back through. You know, Stebber, after he's had 2 horrible laps there, 155 and 157, but he is back onto his fast pace on those soft tyres, 149.3, 2/10 down on his fastest lap, which isn't bad at all for the used soft tyres. Getting onto the AstroTurf there, but that's not going to help his lap time as we come down towards the Parabolica on board with Stebber. But yeah, these BMWs look like they've got this another 1-2 in the bag, which would be a shame because Stebber has looked fantastically fast this race, but just doesn't have. There you go, 49.4, which is a fantastic lap time. Definitely doing a good job to make the fuel last, because in the Porsche the fuel is not very good at all. It does run out pretty quickly. Okay, so we've got Stewart into the pits now, coming off the medium tyres. He's going to go on to the soft, so he's made those mediums last, but I don't know why he stayed out for so long on the medium tyre. It's what I have trouble understanding. But anyway, maybe he couldn't make it on fuel. There we go. So we've got Jin now coming up coming around the outside of Cunning. Jin is going to take the place off of Cunning on lap 12 into the first chicane. I wonder when Cunning's going to come back at him, or if they're going to just sit like this for a few laps. Because the trouble is that at this point in the race, there isn't that much point in fighting. What's really important is just staying close to your main rival, which obviously in this case is Jin for Cunning. Stay close to them, don't get any penalties, keep it clean, keep it consistent, you know, and make sure you're not at a disadvantage for the next race. So Heed in fourth, SD in third, Moose King in second. Are we going to see the Porsches come into the pits this lap? I think we will. Left has done a fantastic job on the fuel, which looks like Stebber has. Moose King's going to follow him round, but yeah, they are getting the best out of their fuel tank. So also what we're going to see now is the first representative lap time of these BMWs. So Jin's will be faster than there he goes. We've got SD to the pits now. Is Saheed going to follow him as well? No, Saheed's going to go for at least one more lap, but they're looking at the fuel that he's got in there at the moment. He might just carry on. Jin, there we go, 49.0, great. It's 51.2, so Cunning not having the lap that Jin did. But you know, as we saw in the sprint, Jin did make a few more mistakes than Cunning did, so we'll see what happens. It's Jin getting all over the back of Saheed. He would have got a very nice toe up that main straight as well. Going to look to get the move done around the outside. He's not going to be able to, but this is going to give him the inside into the second chicane that goes into sector 2. There we go, last of the late breakers, gets the move done before the corner. Very nicely done from Jin, and Saheed moves down to 4th with a pit stop still to do. Cunning quite a bit further back, so he is going to need to pick up the pace if he does want to take this win from his teammate, as he did in the sprint. Jin already pulling a gap out on Saheed. Obviously Saheed on the used mediums, whereas Jin's on the on brand new soft, so you would expect this to happen. I wonder if Cunning's going to be able to get the move done before the lap is over. As we come through the Ascara chicane, Jin, you know, getting those apexes absolutely bang on. There we go, Stebber into the pit. Moose King going to go around again. Bloody hell, he is making these tyres last. Stebber in the pits, getting his tyres done. Where is he going to come out relative to Jin? He hasn't even started getting, he's got his fuel going in now. I think he's going to be quite a way back from Jin and Cunning when he comes out the pits. Let's see though, there we go, just as Jin goes past, Stebber comes out just in front of, just behind Cunning, and is, sorry, just behind Jin. Is Cunning going to be able to get the move done? Not quite yet. However, Cunning is on the, he is on the soft tyre, so this shouldn't be hard work for Cunning. Another 49 from Jin compared to Cunning's 50.0. Moose King is going to go around again on the soft tyres. Hopefully he can make it. There isn't very much fuel, obviously, or I hope he's coming in this lap. But let's see where that leaves him. Cunning all over the back of Stebber at the moment, and it looks like he's got a very nice toe as we go towards the Ascara chicane. He pulls out to the left to get the move done. He's going to go side by side into the Ascara chicane. Who's later on the brakes? Stebber's later on the brakes and pinches him to the apex, not allowing Cunning to come through just yet, as Cunning makes a mistake and goes off into the Ascara chicane. Cunning goes off, Cunning makes a mistake. Okay, now he's got his work cut out for him. Now Cunning is going to need to do some fantastic lap times, because he's the entirety of the back straight behind Stebber. Stebber on the medium tyre is going to be slower than Cunning, but that is a big gap for Cunning to try and close. Moose King in the pits. Let's see if Stebber comes out. He's going to come out way ahead of Moose King. Is Moose King going to come out? Yeah, Moose King's going to come out way ahead of Cunning. So perhaps Moose King is going to try and hold the BMW up to protect his Porsche buddy in second place at the moment. Jin in the lead though, 42.2. He's very, very consistent, and this is all he really needs to do to hold on to this lead. Clipping that apex, yeah, getting just on the inside of both sausages is perfect. That's exactly what you need to do. In onto the brakes here, down, not, you know, wasting his effort, going down to second and potentially spinning up the car. Very consistent, nabbing a bit of Astro on the inside, not getting the Astro on the outside. This is really fantastic from Jin, and a much more consistent than we saw in the sprint race. Steva in second, Moose King in third. Moose King making a mistake though. He's obviously just got onto the Astro a little bit on the exit, and that's going to allow Cunning to close up to the back of him. Not quite close enough though at the moment to get a move done. Comes the brakes into this car. Don't make the same mistake you did last lap, mate. Here we go, through he goes, clipping the apexes, getting a much better exit than Moose King. Both of them though going onto the Astro, but Cunning holding more speed as we come down the back straight into the Parabolica last corner. He's going to give him a kiss up the back as we go in. Moose King going a little bit deep, and Cunning managing to just stay very tight underneath him, but not getting past actually. Moose King holding on to third place. I wonder if Cunning thought that that was possibly his fault and didn't want to abuse it. So he's gonna bump draft Moose once more as we head towards the first chicane. Is Cunning going to pull out to get the move done? No, he's not. Going to very sensibly stay behind as Moose King goes a little bit deep on the brakes though, and that does hold the two of them up a little bit. Cunning, you know, he did a very mature thing to not try and do last of the late breakers into the first corner, but he has lost out time because of it, and time is of the essence. He needs to catch up with Steva. Steva has a half-second penalty, so he's going to lose some time. This is really Jin's race to lose now. We're on lap 16, so we've got what, 6.5 laps to go, and he's got a fantastic lead over the car in second, who has a penalty, and this is definitely Jin's race to lose. Moose King in third, still, you know, doing, you know, if we're talking about this being a hold-up job, Moose King's doing a fantastic job as he forces Cunning to go round, try and go round the outside. He is ahead, but Moose King can go later on the brakes into the Sky Chicane, giving plenty of room to Cunning, but Cunning not really wanting to duel with him through the Sky Chicane. Very sensible decision. That is a tricky thing to do as we head towards the Parabolica now, down the back straight. Cunning's going to pull alongside. It's going to be just ahead as we go onto the brakes. What is Moose King going to do? Moose King's going to try and hold it around the outside, not being able to get the throttle down fast enough, and he's ultimately going to lose out to Cunning. But, you know, if you look at Cunning's lap time, that was a 51.1. It's not the time he wants to be doing on those soft tyres if he does want to catch up to Steva, who goes through the first chicane now, and Cunning's not even on the brakes yet. So, you know, Cunning's got a big gap to catch up to Steva, and I don't think he's going to be able to do it. We've got 10 and 9 minutes left of this race, just under 6 laps to go. Although that was very close to being track limits. Did Steva get that? He didn't get that perfect. Got himself a 2-second penalty, and that is going to help Cunning reel him in, as Cunning does get it absolutely right, just nibbling on both of those sausages on the inside. And this has sort of been the story of Steva's race, hasn't it? You know, being in the right place, having the right pace, but just not being consistent enough as we go through into the Sky Chicane. And Steva's going to kick himself after this race, because he could have done he could have had a very good result in this, as he serves his penalty. Cunning's still coming through with Scary, so he's not going to lose the place because of that penalty. But what it is going to do is it's going to bring that gap down by about 4 seconds. And actually, I don't know what the gap is, but let's count it out. So as Stebber goes over the start finish, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just over 7 second gap, approximately. Obviously my counting isn't perfect. I guess I could have used the counter in the bottom corner, but oh well. Right, so yeah, so about 7 second gap, whatever, to Cunning. So Cunning's going to have to do some better times than a 50.0, because if you look at, you know, so if we say that Stebber probably lost about 4 seconds serving his penalty, then, you know, he's on a 49.5, although he hasn't really got close to that. But the fastest time that Stebber has done on this medium tyre is 50.6, and Cunning's not going to be able to do anything if he's closing up 6/10 a lap. You might have to rely on Stebber to make a few more silly mistakes. Gintoni really has been the class of this race, a class above the others so far, on a 49.06, I should say, last lap round, and applying the throttle very smoothly, very nicely on that last corner to you know, to look after his tyres and get good lap times from it. Okay, it comes around, it's 49.9, so that wasn't as good as some of the other laps he has been doing, but I guess he doesn't really need to be pushing at this moment because Stebber is on a slower tyre behind him, doing slower lap times, 50.4. Fantastic lap time. Let's see what Cunning can do. There you go, 51.1. I don't think Cunning's going to be able to close that gap, which is a shame, unless Stebber does make the mistake, because Stebber, you know, he has made quite a few mistakes. Obviously, he's driving his socks off in this medium tyre stim, which is keeping him in second place for the time being, as the main threat to his second place is making a few too many mistakes and just not having the pace on the soft tyre that his teammate does, to be fair. Yeah, since Gintoni's put that fresh soft rubber onto his car, he hasn't gone any slower than a 150.197, whereas Cunning, since being on the fresh rubber, on 2 occasions has been faster. But yeah, Jin is a class above at the moment. Class A. Oh, sorry, and forgot about that 2-minute form. Here we go. So Stebber holding his own, not getting himself into trouble, doing very well to work those medium tyres and to try and make them last. Comes across the line, clock's at a 35.53. And as Cunning comes across the line, the clock is at, well, maybe let's call that 36.03, so about a 10-second gap. It was, don't know what that lap time was from him, but Stebber on 50.8, very respectable on those medium tyres. Jin 49.4, obviously, he's just smashing it. And this is sort of the Jin that we've seen for most of this season, to be fair, doing fantastic lap times, and yeah, definitely, and doing them consistently as well. Sorry, whereas yeah, we saw a mistake prone in the sprint, but this is the Jin that we're used to, absolutely smashing it. and Cunning is struggling to hold pace with Jin for one, but Jin aside is also struggling to hold pace with Stebber. Or, you know, he's just a little bit faster than Stebber, but he needs to be a lot faster as we're about to round out lap 20, so we've got just over 2 laps to go and a 10-second gap between the pair. It's not feasible for Cunning to do in his own race, but I've realised we have been focusing on this top battle for far too long. So we've got Moose King under a bit of pressure from Stewart, SD a bit further back, Sahid way further back, but Fracas is close to Sahid. If Sahid makes a mistake, then Fracas will be there to collect the results. As SD makes a mistake, SD makes a mistake coming through the Ascari chicane. What's he done here? He's just got a little bit wrong. Goes onto the gravel, onto the grass, and is now going to need to try and hold on to his gap to Sahid. Yeah, there he's fine behind. But let's have a look at Moose King versus Stewart. Stewart is very, very close. 51.6 last time, 53.1 from Moose King, 51.0 and 51.3. Okay, so the pace is fairly evenly matched. Stewart on his soft tyre, Moose King on his medium, but who's made a mistake? Cunning again. What's Cunning done? He's gone into the first chicane. He's gone very late on the brakes. Wow. Okay. Tried to come. He's come back on, but he's already messed that up. So what he has done there is sort of confirmed Stebber into second place. Jin has finally made a mistake in this stint. I didn't think he would, but he has made a mistake now. He's got himself a 1.5 second penalty, but that's not too much to worry about because Stebber's quite a way back. Cunning in third place now. Moose King is a little bit of a way back, but not too far back that it's that Cunning should be too relaxed. Stewart is all over the back of Moose King at the moment, all over the back of him. Moose King will not be relaxing one tiny bit as I go through Lesmo 2 onto the shadowed straight. Is Stewart going to be closing up? Because Moose King did just touch the grass, but no, Stewart is a little way back from Moose King as we head towards the Ascari chicane. Stewart very cautious on the brakes as we go through. And Moose King is, you know, he's a lot more confident on those curbs. I hope he doesn't get a penalty from that, but he is a lot more confident to use those curbs than Stewart is. And yeah, as we come through the Parabolica and onto the penultimate lap, but there will be some drivers who don't make it to do a 20-second lap. So let's see where SD. Also, just looking at it now, SD's still got a quarter of a tank, so could have made a lot more benefit from that. And this is going to be the last lap for SD as the timer goes over 40 minutes. So SD takes 6th place. Sahid in 7th. Pitted a little bit late, Sahid did. You know, he should have used soft tyre more. And Fracas is going to take 8th place and he's going to spin across the line. Jin Toady has been the class of this race, there we go. As he comes through Ascari, Stebber behind him, quite a considerable way behind him. Cunning in 3rd, again very big gap. Cunning should have really put the pressure on Stebber, but just made too many mistakes really. 49.5 last lap, so we are seeing that, not the last lap, penultimate lap, we are seeing that Cunning does have some good pace on these soft tyres, but hasn't used it consistently. Moose King no longer under pressure from Stewart. Stewart must have made a mistake on that last lap. Oh, we missed Jin crossing the line. He's that far ahead. Didn't even notice. He's going to round the Parabolica on his Billy No mates. No one in sight around him. Not only is he going to take the win, but I'm pretty sure he's going to take the fastest lap as he goes into the 48 on the last lap. Very, very well done from him. Stebber out of fuel. Stebber out of fuel. Cruising along at 65 miles an hour. How far back is Cunning? Cunning rounds the Parabolica. Stebber's going to head to the pit lane. Cunning is going to take second place. That is heartbreaking for Stebber. Heartbreaking for him as Moose King takes 4th and Stewart will take 5th. But that is heartbreaking for Stebber. He deserved that second place. He drove fantastically. Congratulations to Cunning, you know, putting in another good lap time, 49.4 on that last lap. But you know, he wasn't consistent, and Stebber did struggle in that first stint, but showed he was doing a very class job in the in that final stint on the medium tyre. He did a great job with that. Anyway, so our results: we have Jin taking the win and the fastest lap, Cunning taking second after Stebber ran out of fuel at the line, Stebber third, his teammate in the Porsche Moose King in 4th, Stewart in 5th, Esty in 6th, Sahid taking 7th, and that leaves the McLaren of Fracas in 8th. Very well done to all of the drivers. I've been Oscar X Bacon, and it has been a pleasure to commentate on you. Thanks very much for coming. Thank you and goodbye.